This fight is something that has been foreshadowed all the way back in Shibuya, where Gojo used Yuta as a threat and someone who could potentially take out Kenjaku in his place. And today we'll be analyzing if he was truly right by putting Kenjaku and Yuta up against each other in a fight that would have been spectacular to see, regardless of how one-sided it may be. So if you like these type of videos, please remember to like and subscribe. And remember that if you have any disagreements, please feel free to comment as we get into the video. Starting off with Yuta, seeing as his strength has been more widely explored within the series. We know that Yuta is in possession of the curse technique Rika, who was a childhood friend turned into a crazed curse by Yuta's immense cursed energy. Yuta is someone who has been noted to have immense amounts of cursed energy, so much so that in his fight against Geto, he's able to overload his own weapons with cursed energy if he doesn't put the right amount into it. Yuta is someone who is described to have access to Rika, who is a reserve of boundless cursed energy, as described by Geto, and has the ability to unconditionally copy most curse techniques. Yuta is in possession of the curse technique, curse speech, and sky manipulation. Both of these things he copied from Inumaki and Uro, and he has an immense amount of cursed energy output, which is slightly inferior to someone like Ryu, who is hailed as someone who has the highest amount of cursed energy output within the Culling games. He, like many other special grade sorcerers, has access to reverse curse technique, which allows him to quickly heal himself and causes his cursed energy reserves to deplete. In his fight against Geto during the fourth and final chapter of Volume 0, Yuta displays immense speed feats which allow him to keep up with the fellow special grade sorcerer, with little to no experience. In that fight, he learns more about cursed energy and he is able to increase in speed, and when combining with Rika, he is able to remove the limits of cursed energy and release high power blasts. When we next see Yuta, he is there to fight against Yuji, and his cursed energy amount alone is enough to stop Naoya, Yuji and Choso right in their tracks. Yuta then begins to engage Yuji in combat as he displays his ability to take his opponents off guard with Rika, who is so strong he is easily able to overpower Yuji to the level where he is unable to move. In this fight, we see that Yuta shows off excellent physical abilities with the aid of cursed energy reinforcement, which allows him to keep up with Yuji and replicate similar speed feats to him. In his fight against Kuroritsushi, Yuta is easily able to keep up with said special grade curse and kill it without much effort, regardless of the fact of if he is trying to preserve his cursed energy or not. He then proceeds to get ran up on by Uro, who is easily able to get the upper hand on him, though he takes little to no damage. He is then bombarded by multiple granite blasts, which forces him to use his reverse curse technique multiple times. After he gets into a brief hand-to-hand scuffle with Ryu, who describes hitting Yuta like hitting it against an immense water tank, and he also notes about Yuta's immense amount of cursed energy. Yuta then rips out Rika, who is described as an external cursed energy store, and also stores his curse techniques. This is basically just the remains of Rika after she got dispelled in Volume 0, and only in this state is Yuta allowed to use Rika's curse techniques and the curse techniques that he has copied. This also allows him to gain access to Rika's cursed energy, which is able to refill his own, and also allows Rika to fight alongside him, as basically just turning the fight from a 1v1 into a 2v1. The rest of this fight isn't really that important with the exception of a few panels, so we will begin to segue into Kenjaku scaling. Kenjaku is a character who is described as someone who is only second to Tengen in terms of barrier techniques. He is easily able to create an unclosed barrier domain, which is described as divine by Tengen, and is the same as Sukuna's in terms of how refined it is. We see that Kenjaku is able to semi-tank punches from Yuki, which are stated to be able to ignore concepts. And during this fight against Yuki, he's easily able to basically just rip off a simple domain without using his short hair, and just how strong his domain is. We also know that Kenjaku is drastically superior to people like Choso, with him being able to dodge Choso's piercing blood at point blank range, which has been calced up to Mach 36, which puts him above some of the quote-unquote top tiers in speed within the Jujutsu Kaisen verse, such as Naoya, who's stated to be Mach 3, and Toji and Maki, who should obviously be slightly above Naoya. He's also easily able to beat up Choso in terms of hand to hand, even after Choso gets his supreme amp from trying to protect his brothers. In his fight against Yuki, he displays possession of a special grade curse that is in the form of an Asian god. It allows him to remove all obstacles from his path and is further elaborated as a curse that entangles concepts with its target and basically just doesn't allow them to come close to him. For Kenjaku to be able to attain this curse, he either needs to be drastically stronger than it or beat it in a fight. This means that Kenjaku has to have at least some resistance to abilities that can affect concepts at the very least. During his fight against Yuki, not only is he able to react to most, if not all of her attacks, he is also able to overwhelm her using gravity manipulation. Or, this is described as the reverse of gravity manipulation and also allows him to survive Yuki's black hole, which is stated to be able to destroy the world. His gravity manipulation allows him to basically flatten anything in his way with little to no resistance. Kenjaku is also able to compress maximum Uzumakis into basically just really small balls, which not only have much more strength behind them, but he also has much more versatility with them, allowing him to catch his opponents off guard. He's also in possession with more than, I kid you not, 10 million curses, which he can compress into a maximum Uzumaki, which would absolutely be devastating within a fight. But who'd win? Well, quite obviously Kenjaku takes this. Not only does he have the stronger domain, which should allow him to easily overpower Yuta, should they ever come to that, but he also has physical stats far superior to someone like Choso, who states that he is copying Yuji's fighting style, which mainly revolves around strength and speed. We also see Kenjaku is easily able to manhandle multiple grade 1 sorcerers who should also be around the same level as Yuji. This same Yuji is able to keep up with Yuta even when holding back and weaker than his Shibuya self. And though many people try to contend this by saying Yuta held back because he didn't use Rika, it's actually important to know that Rika doesn't actually amp his stats, seeing as Uro is able to react to him before and after he pulls out Rika, which would further support this. Yuta doesn't even have the Winkan of Cursed Energy Blast, as Kenjaku has far more curses than Geto, and it's stated that not only by the author but by Kenjaku himself that Geto would have won if he had all of his curses, which only amount up to like 4,000. So in conclusion, Kenjaku should stomp low difficulty, and if you like these type of videos, please remember to like and subscribe, and have a nice day. I'll try to make more content like this within the future and be going over whether or not Yuta actually deserves his spot as a high tier. I'll see you guys in the next video.